الرحيم الحمد لله الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونستهديه ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلوات الله وسلامه عليه يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد فإن خير الكلام كلام الله وخير الهدى هدى رسول الله صلوات الله وسلامه عليه وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. We come now inshallah azza wa jal to the second aspect of studying some of what was mentioned in the Quran and in the authentic sunnah of Al-Mustafa Al-Mukhtar sallallahu alayhi wasallam concerning the Masih Ad-Dajjal, who many times has been translated as being the Antichrist. And as we mentioned yesterday, from the important aspects of this issue is that the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wasallam mentioned ma bayna خلق آدم إلى قيام الساعة خلق أكبر من الدجال. There was never a creation of fitna since the time that Allah Azza wa Jalla created Adam until Yawm al-Qiyamah. His fitna is bigger than this Ad-Dajjal. And how can it not be a major fitna when the da'wah of Ad-Dajjal is that he's going to call the people to worship him, and he's going to claim the uluhiyah of Allah Azza wa Jal. Not just the rububiyyah of Allah, that he's the creator of the people, or he is the individual who provides for the people, but he's going to claim the haqq of al-uluhiyah, that he deserves to be worshipped. And he's going to have with him the means and the ways to prove that from the way of shubahat in the minds of the people who see him. So it's no doubt that he is the biggest fitna for the people of this ummah, the ummah of At-Tawheed. And the deen of Allah Azza wa Jal, ikhwani, as you all know, and it should be stressed over and over and over again, if a person dies and he comes to Allah Azza wa Jal with Tawheed, if he committed all of the sins in the world, as many of them that you can possibly think of, Allah is going to forgive him sooner or later. He may not even have to go to the nar of Jahannam. He's under the Mashi'ah of Allah, provided he didn't die on shirk. In the Hadith al-Qusi, the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said that Allah Azza wa Jal said, Ya ibn Adam, law annaka ataytani biqarab al-ard khataya thumma laqitani la tushriku bi shay'a لَأَتَيْتُكَ بِقَرَابِهَا مَغْفِرَةً وَلَا أُبَالِي. If you die, son of Adam, the day that you die and you completed and filled up this whole world with sins and mistakes, no matter how many, no matter what they were, and you don't make shit with me, I'm going to come to you with as much forgiveness, and I don't care, I don't mind. So if an individual were to die and he murdered 100 people, he died and he was drinking khamr, he died and he was a homosexual, actively engaged in practicing homosexuality, akramakumullah. If he died like that, but he believed in La ilaha illallah, he's going to go to Jannah sooner or later. And no one here has the right to say that he's not a Muslim. And no one here has a right to say he won't go to Jannah. If Allah Azza wa Jal wishes to forgive him, he'll forgive him and put him in Jannah without any hisab. And if Allah chooses to punish him, he'll punish him, and he's going to come out of that hellfire. As the Nabi said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and qala la ilaha illallah, nafa'athu yawmin min dahri. Anybody who says la ilaha illallah, one day is going to benefit him sooner or later. Ad-Dajjal is going to come, and he's going to challenge this issue in the Muslims. Going to try to make people make shirk with Allah by taking him as the object of worship. So the Muslim cannot be in any doubt concerning this issue. The reason why we have been created is not to do anything other than to worship Allah Azza wa Jal. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسِ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ مَا أُرِيدُ مِنْهُمْ مِنْ رِزْقٍ وَمَا أُرِيدُهُمْ مِنْ يُطْعِمُونَ إِنَّ اللَّهَ هُوَ الرَّزَّاقُ ذُو الْقُوَّةِ الْمَتِينُ. We've been created to worship Allah alone. So there can't be any doubt about the Muslim falling into the issue of shirk in any shape, form, or fashion. The prophets and the messengers who were sent by Allah Azza wa Jal, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhim ajma'in, they were sent not to socialize with their people. They were sent not so the people can brag, we have this Rasul with us, that Nabi came from us. They weren't sent for that. They weren't sent with the golden objective of just marrying from their people. They were sent with the golden objective of calling the people to the worship of Allah. The antithesis of what Ad-Dajjal is all about. All of them. وَلَقَدْ بَعَثْنَا فِي كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ رَسُولًا أَنِ اعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَاجْتَنِبُوا الطَّاغُوتَ. For every nation that came on this earth, Allah sent to them a Rasul, and each and every one of those Rasuls went to those people, and those messengers told those people, worship Allah. But not just worship Allah. Worship Allah and avoid worshiping the false deities. Those books, this Quran, Torah, Injil, the Zabur, the Suhuf of Ibrahim and Musa, the revelation that came down to Ibrahim, Ismail, Ishaq, Yaqub, and the Asbat, and all of the Nabiyyin, those books that were revealed, the sole purpose that Allah Azza wa Jal revealed those books was for the sole purpose of establishing the Tawheed of Allah and the worship of Allah. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَا مِن قَبْلِكَ مِن رَسُولٍ إِلَّا نُوحِي إِلَيْهِ أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا أَنَا فَاعْبُدُونِي. So all of these issues, they point to the significance and the importance of a Tawheed. There is nothing more important than that. Nothing more important than that. The Jannah, the Nar, created for the Tawheed of Allah. Al-Jihad fi sabilillah, legislated for Tawheed. The Khilafah, legislated for the Tawheed. So the point, Ikhwani, is Ad-Dajjal is going to come, and he's going to compromise, and he's going to be a challenge to that issue. So the first thing that we want to deal with today is a shubha that many people have. People who are not grounded in knowledge, and sometimes people who are not exposed to the realms of scholastics in al-Islam. And that is, Ad-Dajjal is the biggest fitna. Every Nabi, every Rasul warned against him. The hadith of the Dajjal is mutawatir, meaning there are many narrations from many companions. Sometimes you find a hadith only has one companion narrating that hadith. إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ, only Umar narrated that hadith and no other companion narrated that hadith. The hadith of Ad-Dajjal, there were over 30 companions who narrated hadith about Dajjal in one way or another, mutawatir, as those ulama of Islam said. Imam Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, when he brought those hadith and explained in Sahih Bukhari, he said that those hadith are mutawatir. His student Imam al-Sakhawi wrote a book called Fath al-Mughith and Mustal al-Hadith. He said that hadith of Ad-Dajjal, mutawatir. Ibn Kathir, he has his book Al-Bidayah wa Nihaya. He claimed that the hadith of Ad-Dajjal, mutawatir. So the scholars put this in the usul of the minhaj of the Muslim. So the question that presents itself is, why is it and how is it that such an important issue has not been mentioned in the Quran? The word of Dajjal You're not going to find it in the book of Allah Azza wa Jal in any shape, form, or fashion in terms of the ishtiqaq of the word. You're not going to find the word Dajjal, 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 Dajjalun. You're not going to find any direct mention of a Dajjal. Because of that reality, some people came and they said, we don't accept this issue about a Dajjal. It's not mentioned in the Quran. If anyone claims that he takes only the Quran and not the Sunnah, he's not going to be able to position himself, to empower himself, to protect himself from the Dajjal. Because everything about the Dajjal is mentioned in the authentic Sunnah. So to answer that question, that shubha from the shubahat of the people of Ilm al-Kalam, first of all, some of the scholars were of the opinion that the Dajjal was mentioned in the Quran. Not directly, but indirectly. And from what they mentioned was that Allah Ta'ala mentioned in the Quran, لَخَلْقُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ أَكْبَرُ مِنْ خَلْقِ النَّاسِ. The creation of the heavens and the earth is bigger and greater than the creation of the people. One of the best tafsirs in al-Islam is the tafsir of the great Shafi'i scholar Imam al-Baghawi. Al-Imam al-Baghawi, he brought this ayat in Surah Ghafir, and he established that many of the Salaf were of the opinion that this ayat, the creations of the heavens and the earth, is bigger and greater than the creation of An-Nas, the people. Some of the Salaf said An-Nas in this ayat is talking about Ad-Dajjal. It's talking about Ad-Dajjal. So with some of the people of knowledge from the Mufassirin, they said this ayat is mentioning the Dajjal. Another ayat of the Quran is the statement of Allah Ta'ala that mentions some of the Ashrat al-Sa'a. يَوْمَ تَأْتِي بَعْضُ آيَاتِ رَبِّكَ لَا يَنْفَعُ نَفْسٍ إِيمَانُهَا. On that day, Yawm al-Qiyamah, on that day, when some of the signs of your Lord comes, when those signs come, it won't benefit a person's soul to have iman on that particular day. So the ayah said, some of the signs, when they come, they're not going to benefit the nafs of the individual who believes in them when they come. This hadith has been explained by the hadith of this ayah has been explained by the hadith of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What was collected by Al-Imam At-Tirmidhi. Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu said that the Nabi said about this ayat sallallahu alaihi wa ala alihi wasallam, ثلاثة إذا خرجنا لا تنفع نفسا إيمانها لم تكن آمنت من قبل الدابة والدجال وطلوع الشمس من مغربها. The hadith is similar to the ayat. It said three things. If they were to happen, if they were to appear, if they were to come out, then a person believing in them when they come out, they are not going to benefit his iman at all. He mentioned the first one is the animal that's on the earth, the big animal. And the second thing is the Dajjal. And the third thing is the sun being rising from the west and setting in the east. So that hadith explains that the Dajjal was mentioned in the Quran, not by his name, but again by an ishara. And for the person who has iman, that's more than enough. Even if it wasn't mentioned at all, it's more than enough as long as it's established in the Sunnah of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wa ala alihi wasallam. And as we mentioned yesterday as well, ikhwani, from the ajwiba and answers that some of the ulama of Islam gave, they said that Allah Azza wa Jal in the Quran, as far as the Quran is concerned, Allah Azza wa Jal in mentioning Isa ibn Maryam and only Isa ibn Maryam, then since the Mahdi is connected to Isa, he's not mentioned in the Quran. He wasn't mentioned in that hadith where the Nabi mentioned the 10 major signs. He didn't mention the Mahdi. Allah didn't mention the Mahdi in the Quran. Allah didn't mention the Dajjal in the Quran because the Dajjal is connected to Isa ibn Maryam. So those ayats that mention Isa ibn Maryam as being a sign from Allah Azza wa Jal, they are in essence indirectly or directly mentioning the Dajjal. Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala mentioned in the Quran, وَإِن مِّنْ أَهْلِ الْكِتَابِ إِلَّا لِيُؤْمِنُنَّ بِهِ قَبْلَ مَوْتِهِ. There's no one from Ahlul Kitab except that he's going to believe in the Dajjal before he dies. But the word Dajjal wasn't mentioned. He's going to believe in him before he dies, meaning the Dajjal. Another ayat of the Quran, Allah Ta'ala said, وَإِنَّهُ لَعِلْمٌ لِلسَّاعَةِ. Verily he is a sign for the hour, a sign of the hour. So the point here is whether a Dajjal was mentioned in the Quran directly or not is irrelevant. The Muslim is responsible for taking the Quran and the Sunnah, and the one who has the Sunnah in its totality and it's authentic, he's going to practice Islam better and more completely than the one who only has the Quran is going to practice, because the Quran was explained by the Sunnah. So the real sign of Al-Iman is whether it's Quran and Sunnah or both, the Muslim is going to believe in it. So that's the first issue that we mentioned today. Why the Dajjal wasn't mentioned is really irrelevant. The relevant point is that we have to learn about him. We have to be ready to protect ourselves from him. We have to know his signs in order to be of the people who get the isma or the protection from Allah. Lastly, concerning that issue, some scholars said that Allah Azza wa Jalla didn't mention him ihtiqaran bihi, showing that his issue is small. You don't mention people of innovation and people who don't deserve to be mentioned because you don't want to make the issue bigger. There's a problem that's going on. Managing the problem, eradicating the problem, sometimes it comes as a result of not broadcasting the issue. Don't broadcast it. Leave it quiet. Group of brothers making trouble. They making balbala. Don't concern yourself with those people. Make them well known. An internet site, a website, a fitna. Don't mention it so that people don't go back and find out about it. And thus it becomes unnecessarily more mentioned. So some of the scholars took that position. In the final analysis, the important thing is, whether it's in the Quran and Sunnah, we have to accept it and we have to embrace it. وَمَا كَانَ لِمُؤْمِنٍ وَلَا مُؤْمِنَةٍ إِذَا قَضَى اللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ أَمْرًا أَنْ يَكُونَ لَهُمَ الْخِيَرَةُ مِنْ أَمْرِهِمْ. It's not acceptable for believing man, believing woman, if Allah or his messenger, if they decree something, decide something, the believing man and believing woman, they don't have anything to say concerning that issue. Second point for today, Ikhwani, is a Dajjal. Where is he going to come from? Where is he going to come from? Again, by knowing some of these basic issues, it excludes in the mind of the Muslim people and things from being something that they claim. A few years ago,